Shannon Sharpe's legit. Calling him a regular pedestrian is some insulting shit. Who are you, Dylan Brooks?
He's a chump. He's a chump, man. I mean, and what is he wearing, man? What are you doing?
You know what he looks like? A regular pedestrian.
Yeah. No, that's serial killer outfit, man. You're wearing a black tank top tucked into jeans, bro. Like, what are you doing? All right, and welcome back to the What Are They Going to Say Now podcast. I'm Tony, that's Jay, and just do what we normally do, but this week we're going to be kind of NFL heavy, leaning forward to the championship games coming up. Two games this Sunday, so we'll dissect those and dissect what happened last week, and then hopefully get into sprinkle some NBA stuff too going on, so kind of a mid-season checkup.
Okay, so let's just take it in order and I'll try not to skip a game this time, like last episode. Let's just go in order. I'm still mad about
that game, by the way. It's my only loss in our picks.
So the first game, we had Kansas City beating Jacksonville, which we both predicted. Mm-hmm. As far as the line goes, Jacksonville with a meaningless field goal at the end for the backdoor cover against the spread. I was like, but you know, that game went as we expected, except Jacksonville's defense kept them in it a little more than expected, and it really, especially Jacksonville drove all the way down though, and was about to score and really make it a game, and then the fumble, and that was kind of it. So it was a bummer. We missed on some drama. Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain, which we'll get into more when we preview this next weekend's games coming up. Mm-hmm. So that was really the big takeaway from that game.
Yeah, that kind of changed the game there, because it looked like he was just going to roll and dominate, and the Chiefs were just going to dominate. As soon as that ankle rolled, it was like, and he looked really hobbled coming off of it. I'm sure he's stayed off of it for a few days. Like you said, we'll talk about it more coming up, but that was definitely a turning point in that game where it was like, they could actually lose this, but we pulled it out.
You know what was interesting though, with after he hurt the ankle, I saw a stat where, as you would imagine, Jacksonville started blitzing them, mm-hmm. and it completely backfired. Mahomes, I think it's been shown, Mahomes is not a guy you want to blitz against,
right? Because
one, you're leaving the receivers out there in single coverage. Two, he's very good at evading the run, the blitz, and he'll run and pick up first downs, which obviously that was taken away with his ankle injury, but you don't want to blitz that guy. Mm-hmm. The teams who have had most success against him, say like Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, they were putting pressure on with 4 rushers.
Right.
And so sometimes you can't I know it makes a lot of sense when a quarterback gets hobbled during a game to start blitzing them. You know, it makes a lot of sense. But mm-hmm. on the other hand, you're rushing at a quarterback who has to stay in the pocket now, and you're giving him more opportunities, not being able to double up his best receivers. And, so you kind of got to stay disciplined to that sometimes with a guy like that, with a talent like that. You don't want to blitz Mahomes. Mm-hmm. That's been well documented in the last, this is 5 straight years now. Kansas City has made it to the AFC Championship game.
Wow.
Every single year that Mahomes has been a starter in the league.
I saw a lot of people, impressive. Our friend Nick Wright there on Fox Sports was calling it the Kansas City International or Invitational, right? Because it's every year for 5 years. He's a big Mahomes guy too. So, but yeah, it was like you said, it was closer than we thought it was going to be. I think because of the Mahomes thing, so made it at least an interesting game.
The next game, we had the Eagles and the Giants, and we thought the Giants might hang in there and make this interesting, and we could not have been more wrong.
No.
It was the Eagles get the ball, go down the field, score.
Yeah.
Get the ball back, go down the field, score. And at that point, I think I text you, and it's still the first quarter, I think, at this end of the first quarter, and I go, this game is over.
Yeah.
Right. It was over. So we weren't completely sure about the Eagles because Hurts had been injured, and that first game back, he wasn't really doing his normal thing. I think he was just taking it easy on his, with his shoulder injury and not wanting to get hurt in a game that didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But he looked great. That was how he looked earlier in the season. So now the Eagles look like a force to be reckoned with for sure. And they just mopped the floor with a Giants team that could not hang.
Right. Yeah. It was a thorough beating, It's just like it seemed like an unfair matchup, basically, and I know the Giants were kind of one of the weaker teams coming in, it was a toss up whether they would even beat the Vikings. And this makes the Vikings look even worse, that they lost to the Giants and then the Giants come in and get destroyed by,
doubles down on
Eagles.
my fraud insistence all year.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
they're definitely up there. So, but no, I got a bunch of unhappy cousins out here with the Giants. They were thinking that the Giants were going to pull off the miracle, and that was.
And the Eagles solidify themselves. Not that they weren't legit already, but it's like, oh, they're the legit 1 seed. They really showed it. So that was a boring game.
Yeah.
Next we had the Bengals against the Bills, and
that was my upset pick. And
you did, you had that.
It was, man, Burrow. They looked like the better team. I mean, and we've kind of said the Bills have been struggling a bit coming in. Josh Allen throwing some interceptions and just some errant passes you don't see him usually make. But I just thought they came in and I think they heard a lot of noise saying how they were going to get beat, and kind of like I don't think they were happy about that game not being rescheduled because they were supposed to play. Game that got canceled.
It hurt
There's a lot of noise about
that.
Yeah, right.
It ended up not mattering, but
it didn't matter. But I think they came in with all that ammo and they just took it to him. Man, Chase was a monster. Oh my god! Like they could not cover him, and that was pretty fun to watch. It was like, okay,
yeah. So my two takeaways from that game, I had picked the Bills, and my takeaway from that game was be careful of the hot hand. The Bengals have now won 10 in a row going back, counting the postseason. 9 or 10 in a row. They had a horrible start of the season, so they've been hot. And you could maybe attribute the slow start to the season as a bit of a Super Bowl hangover, and they just bounced right out of it. And then the other thing is Josh Allen. When he first came in the league, wasn't that long ago, remember the Bills snuck into the playoffs. And he had a wacky first playoff game, if you recall. He was doing some weird shit. Like, what is he doing? And he fumbles the ball. Do you remember this? It was a really wacky game. And it was like, what is going on with this guy? He's lost it in his head. Like, and then, but he was a rookie or second year rookie. Anyway, young quarterback. And then since then he had showed a lot more discipline and maturity and poise and taking care of the ball. And then, I mean, he has a strong arm and makes some amazing pinpoint throws. He'll hit guys, right in their hands down the sideline. And what I think happened was in that process of him starting to be able to just make these hero throws is he lost some of his discipline that he had gained. And you saw some of the rookie recklessness come back out of him in recent weeks. And the interceptions, you got to take care of the ball. All season long, turnovers matter, but in the playoffs, it's amplified. And that's what it comes down to. And so we saw that again. And I feel stupid in hindsight picking against the Bengals. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl last year and they've been rolling. So, and I had those concerns too, but I ignored them. I was, I think it was that the Bengals didn't look that great against the Ravens the week before.
Right. True.
And I allowed that to have too much influence. And the Ravens have a good defense, so maybe I didn't give enough credit to that either.
I think he's a really good quarterback, Josh Allen. I definitely think he's someone who's capable of taking them to that point, to the championship and all that. But he's yet to prove in those big moments, those big moments in the playoffs that he's able to do that, or that he's he's able to rise above some of those mistakes that, regular season you can make an errant throw or something like that and it won't really matter. And there's regular season teams that are really dominant in regular season, and then it just doesn't translate in those huge moments. So I still think he can do it, but
the talent is there, no question.
Talent's there, yeah, but it's starting to be a blemish on his career that he hasn't done it yet. So
yeah, I think we're going to see him bounce back next year, taking a little better care of the ball, and realizing, he swung the pendulum too far the other direction, and he's coming back and forth. So he needs to find that balance, and I think we'll see that. So he's still really young.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the final game, and the one that was most fun for us, was the Niners taking care of business against the Cowboys. Now, we said on paper it was a bad matchup for Dallas, which is true, still true. And there's a reason the 49ers were favored in this game, not just because they were at home, but just because they're the better team. And we said Dak Prescott not taking care of the ball was going to be a problem because it's been a problem for a while. He led the league in interceptions despite only playing in 12 games. We saw that happen. 2 picks, and they were bad picks.
Yeah.
And, again, turnovers are amplified in playoff games. Now, where I did get wrong, and I'll admit I did not give the Cowboys team enough credit, was first, I don't think the Niners had a very good game. And the Cowboys beat them on the lines, which is usually what makes the difference in the game. The Cowboys were putting a ton of pressure on Purdy, who did a really good job of he would take sacks, he'd throw the ball away. He was pressured almost on half of his dropbacks, I believe it was. When he had time to throw, he actually was really good. On plays without pressure, he went 15 for 17 for like 170 something yards or something.
Yeah.
But there was a ton of pressure on him. He did get away with a bad pass that should have been intercepted, but that happens in every game. Dak got away with 2 more on top of the 2 picks he threw.
Right.
But really impressed by that Cowboys line on both sides. Their offensive line, that's the worst part about Dak and how Dak performed was he had a lot of time to throw. That offensive line for Cowboys was incredible. I mean, the Niners have one of the best defensive lines in the league, and the Cowboys gave Dak all the time he needed. Not all the time, but enough time for him to have played better than he did.
Yeah. You said that the Niners didn't play a great game. I would agree with that overall. I think, but I would say that the defense was really good, especially the linebacker, safety, just kind of like blanketing those receivers. And they forced him into some of those throws.
Right.
I mean, Fred Warner was just a monster. This guy was everywhere on the field. Definitely broke up some, would have been touchdown throws where he just made amazing, just basically him just reading what the quarterback was doing and stopping it on his own. So I think there was good things to come out of it, but yeah, the offense definitely has had better showings, and they're going to need to play better. I should take back what I
said. I think the Niners didn't have a bad game. They had a bad game on the lines.
Right. You did say that. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So.
And the other players, that was the difference in the game, is the star players on both sides of the ball, the Fred Warners, the Deebo Samuels, the George Kittle with the amazing catch, like bobbling off his helmet and all that.
That was a great catch.
They made up for the lines, the Niners losing the battle on both sides of the lines, really. They didn't have a run game going. The blocking was not great for that. Tons of pressure on Purdy. But their stars stepped up and made plays when it mattered, and that was the big difference, despite them losing the battle in the trenches. They really did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really, like you said, we both kind of assumed it was going to be a blowout, and it was far from that.
The Niners still covered the spread, for the record.
Yeah, they did, right. They did, yeah. And, you had some drama with missed kicks and, that kind of stuff, which was fun again. But, no, it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. It really did come down to that last, minute of the game. And we kind of knew that the Cowboys were done. But, with 30 seconds left, they had a shot to come down and tie it. Or, no, they won by 6, right? Or by 7? So if they would have come down and scored a
7.
touchdown, So if they would have come down and scored a touchdown, they would have tied it.
So it was a closer game than I expected. And I think it was a little bit of an off game. But turnovers, the 49ers are, when they win or tie the turnover battle, they're undefeated. They haven't lost this year. So that shows how important that is for a team like them. And it is for everybody, but that's, don't lose the turnover battle. Don't lose the game. That's how it's been. So that'll be big going into next week as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that's my bigger point is that they do need to play a lot better because that Eagles team is a machine. So.
Yeah, and before we get into that matchup for next week, I do want to bask in, as growing up hating the Cowboys as a Niners fan. KNBR put together a nice little compilation of Cowboys fans not taking it very well, and we got to play this.
Nice.
It's too good. It's too good. So
I love it.
Bro, how am I 27 years old? 27. I'm probably halfway done with my life, considering my lifestyle habits. I have never seen the fucking Dallas Cowboys make it past the second round. I'm not even asking to win the Super Bowl. I'm not even asking to make the Super Bowl. I'm asking them to make it past the second round. I've never seen it with my own 2 eyes, man. How is that even possible? Like, how do you not even love into it? Like, how do you not 1 year like, oh my God, how do you never even look into it? Like, this has to be the saddest fucking franchise. It just does. Like, at least if you're a Browns fan, you get some sympathy for people. Like, if you're like, oh, I root for the Browns, like, oh, man, tough, right? Tough going. But the Cowboys, you get laughed at, you get made fun of, and you just have to sit there and take it because it's just like, yeah, it's pathetic. I'm 27. I've never seen it past the second round.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, I was watching the game at my wife's cousin's house, who's a huge Cowboys fan, and he wasn't happy at the end of the night. Basically told us we had to leave. Me and my other cousin who are Niners fans. But
what? Here's what I'll say about all that. What did you expect, Cowboys fans? You were underdogs for a reason.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to win this game?
They really did. Really did. That
was like Mike McCarthy, their coach, not realizing they were underdogs, and it's like
I think what made
irrational confidence in a bad way.
Right. I think what made my wife's cousin really mad is that honestly, if Dak didn't make a couple of those really bad throws that were interceptions, they probably could have been tied at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like had it even closer than it was. Like that. Those were game-changing throws that he made.
But
right.
The counterpoint to that is, you're telling me the quarterback who led the league in interceptions while only playing 12 games threw interceptions? I'm shocked.
Right.
Who could have seen this coming?
Right. And I think our defense has to be given credit for forcing him into some of those bad decisions, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were the best defense in the league for a reason this season.
Right.
So if you're the Cowboys, do you finally realize that Mike McCarthy is exactly what you had before with Jason Garrett, that he's a good coach, but then he's not going to get you over the hump? Yeah. And what are they going to do with that big Dak Prescott contract? Dak is not a bad quarterback, but man, he kind of is sometimes. And
I don't
when
think
it really
he's
matters,
the guy.
he's not the guy.
I don't think so. So I don't know what they're going to do.
I don't know. I don't particularly care.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to deal with that. So enjoy.
All right, let's move on to what we have coming up, the championship weekend coming up on Sunday. Let's go first with so we'll start. We have, Kansas City against Cincy. The line opened at Kansas City favored by 1, and now it shifted to Cincinnati by 1. I'm presuming because of the Mahomes high ankle sprain. It's a high ankle sprain. That's a serious injury. I mean, I know there's variations of severity. Guys miss month, 6 weeks at a time sometimes with that injury. So maybe it's not that bad, or it's the AFC Championship. He's going to tape it up and do the best he can. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game over Kansas City. And this is violating I've been writing for months saying it was going to be the Niners and Kansas City rematch in the Super Bowl. And it still might be. I don't feel great. Both of these games, both of these picks, I don't feel great about either of them. I think this is a coin toss for both of them.
Yep.
The only reason, if I have to choose, I think it's a coin toss. I don't like picking either of them. Cincinnati has beat Kansas City 3 straight times.
Mm.
You could say that Kansas City's due to beat them, or you could say that Cincinnati has their number. You know?
Yeah.
And that Mahomes injury is a big deal. So if I had to choose, I'm going to choose Cincinnati. How about you?
It's tough. It's very tough. I think Mahomes pulls it out. I think I could be totally wrong on this. He could come out and look horrible. I'm just going based off of how he looked following the injury. Like, I thought he wasn't going to come back in. The way he was hobbling, I mean, even handing the ball off, he looked so bad after that injury. I was like, oh, I didn't think they were going to win that game, honestly. I mean, if he was out for the rest of that game, I would have had them losing. But the way he rallied and like pulled that together, I was impressed. You know, he's got some days of rest here. I think, you know, hopefully he's able to power through it. Cincinnati's been playing really good. It's not an easy call. I feel like Kansas City's got enough weapons, and they've been such a machine all year. They're battle tested, right? I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I really don't. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think.
Oh, I think that too.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to win it by a slim margin.
I'm curious to see what
shocked?
Mahomes' regimen this week is going to be. He's probably sleeping every night in a hyperbaric chamber.
I was going to say, yeah,
oxygen and
I would say no practice. Yeah, no,
and
I wouldn't.
Ice baths and probably a nice big old cortisone shot before the game.
Several.
Right.
Well, yeah, all week. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
that's tricky because it kind of has a slight numbing pain effect
afterwards,
and you got to be careful about where you do that down there because you don't want to be running around like you have a numb foot either.
Right.
So I'm sure they know what they're doing with that. With the sports medicine guys know what they're doing, but I imagine that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a toss up. I mean, would I be shocked if he came out and didn't look well and the Bengals went out to a decent lead? No, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, like you said, they've been playing really well. They beat them 3 straight times. I believe Mahomes is that special to where, you know, he could, even not feeling well and coming off injury, he could come out and be special. So
yeah, and I mean, these teams played last year and it was a really close game. It went down to overtime. Mahomes did some screwy things in that overtime and leading up to the overtime, actually. But yeah, I think it'll be a close game. And then let's go to the other game. I think it's also going to be a close game in a coin toss. 49ers and Eagles and coin toss. I can't pick. The Eagles are favored by 2.5. They're the home team, so you get 3 for just being at home. So in a way, the Niners are favored by 0.5 point, probably because they're the public team as far as gambling goes.
Mm-hmm.
But so, I mean, it's essentially a coin toss. And I'm going to pick my Niners in this one, but I don't feel great about it at all. I think a lot of people would probably pick the Eagles, and they're not wrong. The Eagles look solid. 2 young quarterbacks. Hurts has a little more experience, of course, but they're both 23, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you put Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts' ages together, they're like combined, counting the days, they're like 47. So they're barely older combined than Tom Brady.
Wow.
It is a young quarterback's game right now. If you look at like the final 8 quarterbacks that we came down to, no one was 30.
Wow.
Dak Prescott was the oldest at 29. So it's a young quarterback's game at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Eagles defensive line is going to be a problem. We're going to need to see Brock Purdy handle that. And then, you know, vice versa with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts' running ability is going to be a difference maker in this game. I'm very concerned about that as a 49ers fan.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is a tough matchup for the 49ers. You know, I'm going to pick them because I got to ride with my team, but like I said, I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I'm worried. I am nervous about this game. Do I think the Niners can win it? Yes. I think they have they're capable of winning this game. They're capable of coming in and like they have game-changing defense. I think they can play well enough on offense. You know, like if Purdy's making good throws, and you know, I love how he's played since he's been starting. But yeah, Philly makes me nervous, man. They're the way they came in and just, you know, granted, like we said, we weren't super impressed with the Giants coming in, and we weren't thinking that they were going to be, you know, like a true contender and, you know, Super Bowl bound or anything like that. But they made them look horrible. I mean, like they couldn't do anything, you know?
Yeah.
And their offense was just methodical. I mean, he had all the time in the world he needed back there in the pocket, right? He's just spreading the ball around. Looked like he didn't miss a beat, right? Like he didn't miss any time.
Yeah. You know, the one thing working in the 49ers' favor in this case, though, and it's through no fault of their own, the Eagles, the second half of the season, have had a cupcake schedule. And they beat a Giants team that was happy to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And to advance and get there. So I'm not taking that away from the Giants. But, like, the Giants were not exactly a juggernaut they faced. So the Eagles haven't been punched in the face really since maybe early in the season. They had some tough battles, but they had a really easy schedule. Again, you can only beat who's in front of you. But I think you might see a little bit of I could see the Niners coming out and punching them in the face a bit early, being like, "Oh, we're a real team. You haven't played a real team in a while."
Right.
So I could see that. Happening.
Yeah.
You know, I also think the Cowboys gave the Niners a better battle testing.
I was going to say that
than the Giants did, and sometimes that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Niners get off to a good start despite being a second half team.
Yeah.
Eagles battle back, and I expect this to be an absolute nail biter. I don't think either fan base feels great about the matchup.
Right.
I think everyone agrees it's a coin toss.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I think it's a really good test for both teams, right? Whoever comes out of that is going to feel really good about their chances to go all the way, because this might be the toughest matchup, especially if you get a hobbled Chiefs team that somehow got through, or even Cincinnati. You're going to feel like, hey, we got past that championship game, the NFC Championship game. We're good, gun to my head, I'm going to stick with the Niners. I feel like, because I feel like Philly's a great all-around team. I still feel like the Niners have a historic defense that's gonna come up with enough stops, right? That's gonna they're gonna give up. So I think they're gonna get scored on a bit, but I think when it comes down to game time, when it comes down to second half, fourth quarter, they've shown that they're capable of locking in and making a big play, right? Making a game altering interception or causing a fumble, or whatever it is. They seem to always come up with those plays. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a blowout, but I'm picking Niners. Do I think Eagles could come out and win comfortably? Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that, but sticking with, like you said, we both were saying Chiefs and Niners. I can see it.
Well, so two comments on what you just said. First, my Super Bowl prediction is the NFC team will win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Which whoever it is,
right,
and
right.
whoever it is on either side, I think the NFC team is going to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, if the 49ers win this game, it's because they're stars. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo.
Yeah.
Somebody goes off, or multiple of the players go off and make amazing plays. It's going to be something like that as the difference maker between the two teams. Mm-hmm. So,
and
should be a good weekend. Good Sunday.
Yeah, and I would just say there were some game-changing plays offensively. I said that the Niners played better on defense than they did on offense, and I agree with that. I really do believe that the defense really is what won them the game and was great all game basically. But like that Kittle catch that he made was insane, right? And I believe that was third down, and they were about to turn the ball back over.
And that was an off-script play, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he bobbled it, and I mean the concentration to catch that with two defenders coming at him, knowing he was going to take that hit. I mean, it's, it's going to take, like you said, somebody going crazy, or them spreading it around and all of their offensive guys going off to match what Philly's going to be able to do. So it's going to be fun.
Okay, so we have a little extra time, and we haven't talked about anything but football lately. Let's dabble into a little bit of the NBA. We're past the half mark in the season. Following the headline news of sorts, I do want to talk a little bit about the incident with the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Lakers and getting into a bunch of the Memphis players, Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant, getting into it with Shannon Sharpe, who's sitting, front row on the sidelines in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And after the incident later on, I guess originally T. Morant, Ja's dad, was doing some jawing with Sharpe and whatever. And so all this, like, you don't want that smoke. That's what Sharpe is saying to, the Memphis Grizzlies players, which I know Sharpe is in his early 50s, but they don't, dude. You don't want to mess with that old man strength. He's a big, strong dude. And Sharpe apologized for the incident, probably just kind of taking the higher road. But what I thought was goofy, and I've already expressed my irritation with Memphis being the self-appointed, they just need to shut up, right? Just dynasty talk, whatever. Dylan Brooks interviewed, you know what? Let's play the clip.
Well, I know you said earlier you didn't want to talk about what Shannon said, but there was a report that he said he started to talk with you, saying that you're too small to guard LeBron, and you swore back at him. Is that what happened? What
No, I
was your
told him
sense?
he missed the shot. That's all.
You think it's appropriate for a fan to kind of go back and forth with you guys like that?
Regular pedestrian like him, he shouldn't have never came back in the game. But it's LA.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thanks, DB.
Okay, so here's my issue with this. Dylan Brooks, who the fuck are you? Okay, Shannon Sharpe, 8-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champ, one of the greatest tight ends of all time, redefined the position in terms of being a two-way threat, a great blocker and a receiving threat. I mean, Shannon Sharpe's legit. Calling him a regular pedestrian is some insulting shit. Who are you, Dylan Brooks?
He's a chump. he's a chump, man. I mean, and what is he wearing, man? What are you
You know
doing?
what he looks like? A regular pedestrian.
Yeah, no, that's serial killer outfit, man. You're wearing a black tank top tucked into jeans, bro. Like, what are you doing? Listen, we're already indisposed to hate the guy, man. He tried to take Gary Payton out in the playoffs and then tried to act like he didn't do anything, and they're just a bunch of front runners, man. I really like Ja Morant as a player, but he falls into that category too, man. Like, just all the talking, all the we're not scared of anybody in the West. Who are you guys? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Memphis was one of my favorite young teams, as recently as 2 years ago.
Right.
And then they've just done nothing but talk.
Right.
They need to chill out, man. I'm like rooting against them, and I don't want to.
I feel like Memphis is the team that people thought the Young Warriors team was, right? Because when like in 2015, when we came and took the league by storm, there was a period where it was like they were the new fun team, right? There's always a team like the rising team that's fun and like goes out and over exceeds expectations, comes out and like takes the league by storm, and then they make that turn and they hate that team, right? There's always like, oh, okay, no, they're winning too much. They're getting annoying with all their winning.
Memphis is ahead of the curve because they've
made
that transition, but they didn't do anything.
Right. That's the difference. Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
It's just funny that, they basically, they talk like a team that has walked the walk and made the jump. They haven't made the jump.
Yeah.
So
They haven't made the conference finals.
No. No. So, I think they're a talented team. I think they're a team that should be like, if you're playing them, if you're playing them in a playoff series, right? You're not taking them lightly. But am I scared of Memphis? No. And I think they play like a team that's they play like chumps, or they act like chumps.
Yeah.
So hey, I was Team Shannon on that one, and I'm not a Lakers guy, and Shannon is LeBron's boy. There was that whole part of it, But I'm like, why are you talking? Like, who are you talking to? Why are you even like trying to jaw with him? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. The only one I would say,
it's silly.
If Shannon was saying who wants smoke, Steven Adams. I'm not getting smoke with that guy. Even Shannon, like you said, Shannon's a big dude. He's, you know what I mean? Like, even for his age, like this and that. Still, Steven Adams, I wouldn't want that smoke. But
never overlook the old man strength.
Oh, I agree with you.
No,
the only one on that team.
Yeah, Steven Adams is now out for a couple of weeks with injury, by the way.
It's not good.
Mid-season.
What's it, 3 to 5 weeks? I think I said.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good, but I mean, he'll be back, and it's not going to really have a big impact on the overall season.
I think it could have an impact on their, whether they won 11 in a row, something like that. I don't think they're not pulling a big win streak with him out.
They have a lot of depth.
They'll tread water,
though.
They do.
Yeah. And you know who? I gave him some props early in the season because he missed the first part and then came back as
Jaren Jackson.
Jaren Jackson Jr., Triple J.
Yeah.
He is a legit Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year.
He's a beast.
He's blocking guys like crazy.
He's a great two-way player, man.
He's their defensive identity. He's their centerpiece. He's really emerged. I was high on him in the offseason, said how impressed I was with him in the playoffs.
Played great in the
playoffs.
Yeah, exactly, against the Warriors. So
he's really taken a step to being that guy that on defense and on offense. Like he's kind of underrated. I think we're going to see his spotlight shine a little more later in the season and into the postseason.
I agree.
So I'm a big fan of his. Yeah. I might be hating on Memphis, but I really like him.
Yeah, and they're still the 2 seed, and they're pretty comfortable lead in there over the Kings, who are 3.5 games back, 4.5 games back. So yeah.
And meanwhile, we both predicted Denver in the 2 seed to start the season. That was our preseason prediction, and they're in the 1 seed. And they are rolling. Jokic.
I know
Jokic
you don't want to talk
passing.
You don't want to talk MVPs, but
I know I don't want to talk MVPs, but I did say this as a disclaimer before the year. I said the only way that Jokic could win a third MVP is if they win the 1 seed. They have to win the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And they are, and they're running away with it. So that opens the door. We'll see if he stays healthy and whatever. But Denver looks like the team to beat right now.
Yeah.
They still need to get something done in the playoffs, though, of course. I
still have questions about them defensively when it matters.
Because postseason basketball is very different than the regular season, so that is a thing.
And that's always their Achilles heel, right? But offensively,
The Suns, meanwhile, since Booker has been hurt, have fallen off an absolute cliff. I forget what it is now. I know at one point, through 16 games of Booker being out, they had gone 3-13, and they're not even. Are they even in a playoff spot, a play-in spot right now? Are they like the 11th or 12th seed right now? Pretty bad.
Phoenix they're 7th seed right now.
Oh, they won a couple games.
They did,
then, but they've fallen way off. Also, the West is so
right. I was going to say
varied. You win or lose a couple games, you move like 6 spots in the seeding. So
the Warriors are a 10th seed, tied with the Thunder, who are also 23-24, and they're 2.5 games out of 4th seed. So that tells you.
I hate to say it. I hate to say at this point, unless the Warriors make a trade to bring in a veteran that can help give them balance, especially with Curry off the floor, it's not going to happen this year. Not.
Now, what do you mean not going to happen this year? Title contention or just?
Yeah. I know they are capable of flipping the switch. That's going to be one big ass switch they have to flip because it's just it's too long now. It's too big of a sample size. Not feeling it this year. I was very confident last year through all the injuries. I said, just watch. We're going to get healthy right before the playoffs put together. I was cocky about it. This year, I'm not feeling those vibes. So we need a big shakeup to make it happen. And the only shakeup that could have that kind of impact is a trade. So we have today's January 25th. We have until February 9th, the trade deadline. And are the Warriors showing enough that trade would even be worth it? I think Lacob's very conflicted about that.
Yeah.
And it's stupid to write off this team, but I'm just not feeling it, and I hope I'm wrong more than anybody.
Yeah.
But
I would say the only thing that I feel like is something that hasn't been there that I feel like will be there is Wiggins. To me, he has not felt like himself. I feel like Wiggins can be a switch. Like if we get the Wiggins of last year, with all the other weapons that we have, right? And like, obviously
that's true. And to be fair, him and Steph missed a lot of games, and they're still putting it back together,
right?
But
so
they need to show something soon, very soon.
I agree. I
need to see them win 7 of 10 games or something like that at least,
and
win some road games against a team over 500.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. I think a trade would actually be good, not just for because obviously we know that what this core can do and what that team's capable of, but I feel like they kind of need an injection of
a shakeup,
right? An injection of energy, an injection of, I don't know if it's a younger, someone who hasn't been in that system coming in and bringing some new life to them. But something I feel like that would help everybody, in everybody on the team, just to give like a breath of fresh air and,
something,
and
well, that's why I said I'm writing them off barring something like that.
Right. And I don't think it has to be, a superstar or an all-star even, right? It could just be like someone to come in and change the game in a certain aspect at different times of the game.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't have to be a superstar.
No, it can be something
not
on
even
the fringes.
on the table, really.
Yeah.
Structure, salary cap structure wise, and trade assets and all that. That's not even. But it needs to be a key role piece.
Right.
But on the Warriors note, what is going on? Another story out today. Bob Myers still doesn't have a contract. His contract is due. It expires in June as the GM of the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Pay that man his money, as Teddy KGB would say.
Hey, Rounders.
This is ridiculous. I know Lacob's spending a ton on payroll and everything else, but Bob Myers has been huge. He's Steph's guy.
Yeah.
What is going on with this? Pay the man and let's move on. I don't understand.
It's interesting. I think there's some posturing going on. I've been reading some things. Basically, Lacob did an interview with Tim Kawakami of The Athletic. And
I read it, yeah,
and was talking about how there's been negotiations, and they've had some offers to him that he hasn't accepted, and that Lacob's saying that he's among the highest paid GMs in the league, and then there's in the story.
And then other sources said he's more like
he's
eighth,
6th or
9th, or
7th,
10th, or something like that.
So
not
I mean,
top
there's
3.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's some posturing going on, and somebody today was also. I forget who it was. I wish I would be able to give them credit, but basically saying that the timing of it is interesting, right? With trade deadline coming up, there could be some things leaked out to kind of put pressure onto management, and hey, maybe Lacob and saying, if changes don't happen, Myers could walk, and like we said, Curry's huge proponent of Myers. I think a lot of the core is, right, because he's been a big proponent of, hey, like we got to ride this core out. We got to give them the tools they need to chase these championships. So
pure speculation on my part. But I feel that Myers is win now mode. Let's take advantage of Steph. Let's go. We have a couple of years of Steph left in his oddly
and we
extended
side
prime.
with that, right? That's how we feel.
And Lacob is worried about long-term viability, the next wave. and whatever, whereas Myers wants to maximize. And I'm saying this based on comments that both of them have said over the last year or two.
Right.
For sure. Lacob seems very much attached to James Wiseman still.
Right.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing because there's the potential's there.
There's talent.
But Steph is a once in a generation player, and you have to go for it with him. And I think that's where we're seeing some of the tension happen. And also, I don't think we're going to see this Myers situation resolved until the season's over, or very close to the end of it.
What's the
playoffs? And it's going to
deadline
depend.
is the summer, right? For
his contract expires in June, which you got to get resolved before then because in May things are happening. Especially if your team is eliminated from the playoffs or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to see how this pans out this year, whether they go all in and make a trade or not. And potentially Myers does end up parting ways because he has a fundamental disagreement with Lacob and how they should be pursuing what success is over these next couple of years. And
I feel like that could be a signal of other dominoes falling too, right? If we do see Myers leave, I could see that maybe being the first step towards the core not, retiring at all as Warriors. Kind of just that starting to fracture a bit. And listen, we're spoiled, man.
Oh yeah,
we've had 4 in 8 years, like this run that we've been on, and we're greedy, to be honest. We just want that core to maximize. Like, hey, if we think they have another one or maybe 2 in them, like we want it for them, basically. You know what I mean? Like for that legacy. They've already cemented the legacy, but like we're never gonna get. I feel like in our lifetime, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we organically grow another. Maybe Lacob was right. The next wave is at that same level or near it. I just feel like we're never gonna have this again. Honestly.
Oh no, so it's.
So I'm like, do whatever you have to do to give these guys a viable shot these last, however many years where they're at that level. And whatever happens afterwards, if we crater out and we're, the Orlando Magic for however many years, hey man, we had that run. It was
a nice run. Yeah.
We had that run.
We've been there before. Plenty of pain. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like,
this all reminds me. This all reminds me a little bit of the end of the Bulls.
The Last
dynasty.
Dance. It's the Last Dance.
And how the Bulls squandered what could have been a couple more seasons of potentially going for it.
I don't want to do that. I don't want that to be, where it's bad taste in everyone's mouth. It's, all of that. Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I don't think it'll ever be anything close to ugly like that Bulls situation was. Especially Steph Curry is not Michael Jordan in many ways, many good ways. Not that was all in Jordan. That's also Jerry Krause and all
Pippen.
of that. But there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, the Warriors have been through a shakeup before in the front office. Jerry West was an integral part of their success in the first place, and he ends up leaving.
Yeah.
And they just kept rolling. Granted, you had Curry and then KD and all that. So, of course, he kept rolling. But so they've been through some turmoil before.
Yeah.
But Myers is more of a key central figure than West ever was. Just because he was the GM.
Agree.
So
I agree. It kind of transitioning to another team in the West with Warriors ties. Look at Mike Brown, man. Look at Sacramento.
Kings are rolling.
Oh my God. Like, I know you went to the Sacramento game earlier this year, and I kind of brought up the beam when that first started because I was like, give Kings fans this, they really deserve it. And, I kind of thought they'd be a fringe, kind of a playoff, hoping to sneak into the playoffs. Remember we were saying, like,
and now it's
coming the season.
Could they be contenders? They could be.
I mean, their offense it's legit, man. It's legit. De'Aaron Fox is a threat. Either driving in, his shot's gotten a lot better, right? And then Sabonis, like the way they play inside out. Keegan Murray is a really intriguing young guy. They just have a lot of they're a fun team. You know what I mean? And this is from someone on the outside. I don't get to watch all their games, but just like kind of following them, and like I like what they're doing, man. And I'm happy for Mike Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could make some waves in the postseason.
Yeah.
I think they're still a true superstar away from being real contenders.
Yeah.
But I hope I'm wrong.
Listen,
I'm on the Kings bandwagon. I mean, I've always liked the Kings.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
If I'm thinking the Warriors are not going to do it this year, I'm fully behind the Kings, you know?
Yeah. And listen, Mike Brown, we're really happy for him. You know, he's doing really well there. He's been missed in Golden State.
He has.
I don't think there's, you know, I'm not saying that the struggles this year have been all because of that. I think there's a lot of other factors going into it and this and that, but I'd feel a lot better if we had him still on the, you know, as the defensive guy on our bench, and kind of, he really had the players' ears and all that.
Yeah, and the Warriors' defense has suffered. So
it's gone off a cliff.
Whether that's a coincidence or not,
right.
I don't know.
But happy for him, happy for them. Yeah, it's a good story coming out.
The Warriors have lost a lot of people over the years because of their success, and maybe at some point brain drain catches up to you.
Yeah, yeah, and age of the core, man.
That's it.
You know, I know it's, they feel like, because they always pull it together when, you know, when things are a little shaky, right? That core always finds a way to pull it together.
I know, that's why the last month of the season they're going to go on a run, and I'm going to feel like an idiot. But I mean, would you be shocked? I would. A much more shocking turnaround than what happened last year, for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Again, last year I wasn't surprised by anything that happened. I was cocky about it. I was, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that.
By the way, my bet on the Warriors to win it all last year, which I doubled down on like part way into the season with the injuries and stuff like that, and I bet more. That, you know, I put my money where my mouth was.
Turned
on
out
that
pretty
one.
Good, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they make a run. And like we said, they're 2.5 games out of fourth. You win 5 in a row.
I know.
You know,
that's the other thing.
It's just like we're not asking for, you know, 20-game win streak. Like, win 5 in a row. Win 8 out of 10, like you said. You know what I mean? Like, just make a run. And I feel like they have that in them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
they're definitely healthier than they have been all year. So I think now is the time, right? So, all
right.
Any other things from the standings interesting to you?
No, I think we'll get back to it. We've kind of run on for a little bit. We'll have an off week before the Super Bowl, and I think let's just we'll wrap this one up, and
sounds good.
We'll check back in after championship weekend.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and as always, please subscribe.
See you next time.